A fresh trade rumor has reopened a conversation the fanbase has been shouting about for months, and the urgency is reaching a point where hesitation could cost Boston more than just regular season win. This time, the name attached to the noise is a veteran who fits the Celtics' profile with remarkable precision, Brook Lopez. The timing of this development is no coincidence. As the trade deadline inches closer, cap expert Yossi Gozlan pointed out that the Los Angeles Clippers are sitting above the luxury tax by a narrow margin. He highlighted a key detail that instantly raised eyebrows across the league, saying the team may look to move salary to reset its repeater clock. That kind of financial leverage can shift an entire trade landscape, and Boston is watching every inch of it with full attention. The Clippers are nowhere near the dominant presence they expected to be. Injuries to major stars and disappointing stretches have left them struggling to stay relevant in the West. When a roster built to win now stumbles this early, front office decisions get messy, emotional, and extremely reactive. That creates an opening, and the Celtics know exactly what it looks like. Boston's need at the center position has been clear since the offseason. Losing Al Horford and Kristaps Porzingis left a void that no internal options fully filled. The team is still competing, still winning, still proving it belongs at the top of the Eastern Conference standing, but cracks in the interior have been impossible to ignore. And in a season where the window is open, ignoring those cracks feels reckless. And yet, the most important question still hangs in the air, waiting to strike at the exact moment Boston decides whether to act. With the Clippers facing financial pressure, with the Celtics fighting to stay elite, and with the window wide open for a move that could reshape the postseason picture, one doubt remained. The search for size became urgent the moment Kristaps Porzingis was moved and Al Horford walked in free agency. Boston went from having veteran stability to scrambling for affordable depth, and the front office knew they needed someone who could defend, rebound, and compete for a starting role without stretching the cap any further. That focus led them directly to Day'Ron Sharpe. Sharpe was seen as a strong fit for Boston's structure, a young big with energy and a willingness to battle inside. Hoops Hype reported that the Celtics intended to push for, but financial constraints left them with only a minimum offer on the table. It was a situation where opportunity met limitation and reality hit fast. Boston could give him a real chance to win the starting job, but not the contract that reflected his rising value. The Nets, sensing the risk, locked him in early with a 2-year, $12.5 million extension. From Sharpe's perspective, it was a decision that offered stability, familiarity, and a financial advantage Boston simply could not match. For the Celtics, it meant watching a realistic target slip through their fingers before free agency even began. Sharpe has since validated Brooklyn's investment. His role may have fluctuated, but his production remained steady, with efficient scoring, active rebounding, and flashes of dominance like his 16.7 rebound performance against Boston and his 17.12 rebound night against Houston. These moments fuel the conversation about what Boston might have gained if the deal had gone their way. Meanwhile, both teams are fighting early season inconsistency, with Boston and Brooklyn hovering in the lower half of the Eastern Conference standing. The Celtics' front court rotation remains a puzzle, and Sharpe's absence is felt most on nights when rebounding and interior defense become liability. As the Nets prepare to face Philadelphia after the Thanksgiving break, and Boston continues searching for internal answers, one lingering thought grows louder. If the Celtics were this close to adding a young center with starting potential, and the need at the position remains just as urgent, what happens next if another opportunity appears and Boston hesitates? Reports from Kevin O'Connor suggest that Kuminga's recent injury designations are starting to look less like setback and more like signals that he may no longer feel committed to playing in a system where his role has stalled for years. The disconnect between Kuminga and Steve Kerr has been public, persistent, and at times uncomfortable, with the young forward repeatedly pushing for a bigger role while the coaching staff remains hesitant to reshape their hierarchy. That friction now opens a door, and Boston may be one of the few teams positioned to walk through it. With Jason Tatum sidelined by an Achilles injury, the Celtics have been forced to rethink their wing depth on the fly. Adding an explosive, physical, two-way athlete could ease the offensive load on Jaylen Brown and give the rotation a different kind of energy it currently lacks. Kuminga fits that description clearly, and his club option for next season makes him even more appealing from a risk management standpoint. The asset picture is straightforward. Boston has pieces other teams want. Anfernee Simons, with his expiring $27.6 million contract, remains their most valuable trade chip this season. Sam Hauser adds shooting and cost control. These are legitimate assets in talks for a player of Kuminga's upside, even if a third team ultimately becomes necessary to match salaries or send out additional value. This is where the decision becomes more than theoretical. Kuminga becomes eligible to be moved on January 15, leaving Boston with a narrow window before the February 5 trade deadline. If the Warriors truly intend to pivot, if Kuminga is genuinely ready to leave, and if the Celtics see a chance to upgrade their roster during Tatum's absence, hesitation could cost them a player who still has room to grow and could reshape their season. And as the trade buzz sharpens and the pressure of the standings tightens around the Celtics, one question refuses to go away. With a rare combination of need, opportunity, and timing, all lining up, Shams Charania reports that Giannis and his agent have opened direct conversations with the Bucks about his future, with a resolution expected soon. That timing is no accident. Trade season opens December 15, and Milwaukee is sinking at the worst possible moment. 8 losses in 9 games, including a setback against Washington with Giannis on the floor, have pushed them outside the playoff picture. For a franchise that tried to retool in the offseason, the start has been discouraging and raises a simple concern. Can they realistically convince their superstar that staying is still the right decision? If Giannis is pushing for a faster exit, the ripple effect for Boston becomes impossible to ignore. The Celtics are already dealing with long-term uncertainty due to Jason Tatum's Achilles recovery, and any shift in superstar availability across the conference changes how the front office must think about the next few years. So could Boston join the chase? On paper, the answer is complicated. Milwaukee is expected to demand a massive haul of young players and premium picks. Boston's draft capital is limited, and their roster is built to win, now rather than rebuild someone else's future. A package centered around Jaylen Brown may not match what teams like San Antonio, Houston, Atlanta, or Toronto can offer. That makes a direct pursuit unlikely, but that doesn't mean Boston is irrelevant. A blockbuster like this almost always involves multiple teams, and the Celtics could insert themselves as a strategic partner. They could use that moment to address their own priorities, such as acquiring a reliable big man or repositioning their cap sheet to avoid tax penalties that limit flexibility next season. Anfernee Simons and Sam Hauser are exactly the kind of contracts that could move during a multi-team deal if Boston sees an angle to strengthen their roster. Which brings us to the one question hanging over the Celtic front office as the countdown to December 15 continues. If a superstar earthquake is about to hit the conference and the balance of power shifts overnight, can Boston afford to stay reactive while their rivals reshape the future in real time?